Explorers coach is hitting big milestones and professional athletes coming out of LaSalle. That's right, it's been a busy break for the blue and gold. Hello, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Philly has seen quite an exciting last couple of weeks for sports, but can we fit LaSalle basketball into that equation? You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. We've got a ton to cover, including a deep look at men's basketball's rough patch over winter break and what is to come for the team.
And later, freshman Nick Palaio makes his SportsLine debut and will be on desk to talk about women's basketball.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Do your jingle.
I don't have a jingle, Dana.
Lies. Number 1, women's soccer's Kristen Hogstad will be headed to Europe to play professional soccer. The Norwegian just recently signed with IFK Kalmar, a top-tier Swedish club team. Hogstad scored 17 goals as an Explorer, 9 of which came in her senior campaign. Her 24 assists ranked 4th in the program history. Hogstad was crucial to the team's success this year, helping LaSalle clinch an A-10 conference title and earn a spot in the NCAA tournament. Her offensive prowess will be missed next year, but we are excited to watch her develop as a professional athlete and wish her the best of luck.
Number 2, on January 19th, LaSalle's own Dr. John Giannini conquered his 500th collegiate basketball team on the road against Fordham in a 75-67 victory for the Explorers. Coach G is in his 13th season at LaSalle, where he has tallied a 208 and 219 record. Prior to becoming LaSalle's head man, G coached at Maine, where he posted a 125 and 111 record in 8 seasons, and Rowan, where he went 168 and 38 in 7 dominant years. He added his 501st win on January 24th against UMass. From all of us at SportsLine, congrats, Coach. And
number 3, former LaSalle head basketball coach Bill Morris, better known as Speedy, got his 1,000th win on January 12th with the St. Joe's Prep Hawks. That makes him the most winningest coach in the school's history and in Philly history, with an overall record of 1,000 wins and 425 losses. Speedy is no stranger to winning. During his time at LaSalle, he coached both the women's and men's teams and led them both to NCAA tournament appearances. While coaching the men's team, Speedy recorded the most wins in LaSalle's history with 238 wins. So without further ado, let's see how our teams did over break.
As promised, we are going to recap all of LaSalle men's basketball that we have missed out on in the past month. Here's Sean Kelly with the coverage.
As students left campus for break, the men's basketball team went right to work. Starting things off home against Mercer on December 17th, LaSalle registered a season-best 16 three-pointers, only 2 shy of the school record set back in 2013. Redshirt senior B.J. Johnson and redshirt junior Pookie Powell led the team with 25 points and 24 points, respectively. Things got a little scary in the second half as Johnson had to leave the game with 10.5 minutes left in the second half because of an ankle injury. The good news is that LaSalle held on to their lead as they took down Mercer 95-85. The Explorers stayed in Pennsylvania as they traveled to Bucknell on December 22nd as they took on the Bisons in their final non-conference matchup. Unfortunately, the team had to play without B.J. Johnson. Meanwhile, Pookie Powell had a team-high 29 points, and sophomore Isaiah Dees earned a career-best 24 points for the Explorers. However, that was not enough for the Explorers as they fell short to the Bisons 88-81. Back at the goal, the Explorers faced St. Louis in their Atlantic 10 opener with Johnson out for the 2nd consecutive game. While it was tough for the team to lose their best player, the blue and gold rallied. Pookie Powell led the team with 28 points, which earned him Big 5 Player of the Week honors. Graduate student Amar Stukes also recorded a season-best 20 points for the Explorers, while freshman Miles Brookins finished the game with a career-high 10 points. It was an impressive victory for LaSalle as they got the win over St. Louis 83-60. LaSalle started 2018 on the road against Rhode Island. On January 3rd, the Explorers faced the Rams, who are ranked 1st in the Atlantic 10. And you guessed it, Johnson was out again for the 3rd consecutive game. Isaiah Dees led the Explorers with 17 points, followed by Pookie Powell with 14. As a result, the Explorers fell to the Rams 74-62 in the final. On January 6th, LaSalle hosted VCU at the Trumark Financial Center, and he was back. B.J. Johnson stepped onto the court after 2.5 weeks dealing with his ankle injury. He registered a total of 15 points, while Pookie Powell led the team with 24. However, LaSalle suffered a loss over VCU, 80-74. LaSalle then traveled to UMass to continue the A-10 conference play on January 10th. Powell earned a career-high 30 points, and with overall, the Explorers had sent this game into overtime. After a tough battle between the two teams, UMass held on to win over LaSalle 86-79, their second loss in a row. And finally, the Explorers traveled to Pittsburgh to take on Duquesne. Powell earned 26 points, while freshman Jameer Moultrie scored a career-high 17 points. After 15 total ties and 33 lead changes, the Explorers battled Duquesne in not one, not two, but 3 overtimes. Last time the Explorers went to triple overtime was in the way they played Mercer in the 2016-2017 season. LaSalle was not able to hold on as the Dukes went on to win 101-94. LaSalle had a total of 2 wins and 5 losses over break, and hopefully we will see a rebound from the Explorers sometime soon. For SportsLine, I'm Sean Kelly, and we'll send it back to the desk.
On January 17th, the LaSalle men's basketball team traveled to New York to take on the Fordham Rams. LaSalle put on an offensive laser show as 5 players scored in double figures, including 15 points from Shaggy Dees and a double-double from fellow sophomore Saul Peary. This great offensive showing, without one of the team's biggest stars, B.J. Johnson, led to a 75-67 victory. The team then traveled south to Richmond, where they took on the Spiders. This game saw Johnson's return to the floor from his second brief injury of the season, and he put up a stellar 27 points, which were sadly not good enough to push the Explorers over the top. The Explorers dug themselves into an early 13-0 hole that they fought the whole game to dig out of, and eventually were able to fight back. The Explorers found themselves locked in a 74-74 tie with under 2 minutes to play when the offense sputtered and left Richmond with an 81-74 loss. The Explorers' next game was finally back at home at the Tom Gola Arena. Isaiah Clark was there and has the coverage.
UMass in Atlantic 10 competition. The Explorers dominated the first half, never trailing by more than 3 points, and after a layup from center Tony Washington with 15 minutes left in the half, they would never lose the lead again, ending the first half with a 20-point lead. The Explorers kept up their hot shooting night in the second half, at one point pushing their lead to 30. The game ended with a final score of 87-72. All 5 starters for the Explorers finished with double digits in scoring, with forward B.J. Johnson leading all scorers with 26 points. Amar Stukes also had a career day, going 8 for 9 with 22 points. Saul Fury ended the game with a double-double, scoring 10 points and grabbing 12 rebounds. The win brings LaSalle's record to 3-5 in conference and 9-12 overall. For SportsLine, I'm Isaiah Clark.
The women's team also struggled over break. Josh Abrams has insight and analysis on how the team fared. Josh?
The LaSalle women's basketball team struggled over this past winter break. After their season opener, which was a 74-47 win over Lafayette, and a Christmas City Classic championship, which included wins over New Hampshire and the host team Lehigh, the Explorers would only win 3 games afterwards. A 5-game losing streak in between December 20th and January 10th plagued the Explorers, which included 3 straight A-10 losses to begin conference play. After a non-league loss to Ivy League powerhouse Harvard, the women's team would bounce back at home to pick up their first A-10 win over St. Bonaventure by a score of 66-63. So LaSalle had a 2-6 record over winter break, and those 2 wins would come against Delaware State by a score of 71-48, and as I said before, St. Bonaventure 66-63. The losses came to North Texas 70-44. At the time, 20th ranked Villanova 76-49. LaSalle would open conference play with a dismal loss to Dayton 76-47. George Mason 69-56. And Richmond 77-51, and then they would go on the road to Ivy League powerhouse Harvard, and their first loss of the season by less than double digits came to Harvard 70-61. Amy Griffin, the star player for LaSalle, notched her first triple-double of the season with 16 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists in LaSalle's win over Delaware State. She leads the team in scoring with about 15 points per game, and is looking to close her college career off with a strong ending. In LaSalle's first A10 win over the Bonnies, Shaq Edwards scored 17 points, including a huge three-point shot with about a minute left to put LaSalle up for good. Sophomore center Sophie Wafong is taking some big strides this season as she led the way for the Explorers in their 70-61 loss to Harvard with 18 points and 7 rebounds. Adriana Miller has established herself as LaSalle's second big threat on offense, as the junior guard has scored more than 10 points per game in her last 5 games, which included a 25-point performance at Duquesne. She has raised her scoring average up to 13.6 points a game. So let's look at some team stats here. As you see on the TV here, LaSalle is only averaging about 56 points a game while they are giving up almost 70 per game. They're out-rebounding their opponents with the big centers that they have on their team. They're a little bit behind in the assist ratio, but the big stat on that fourth stat on the screen there, the turnover ratio, 20 turnovers to 11. That, you would think, is the reason why LaSalle is struggling to win games. They're also giving up about 10 to 11 steals per game, while their rim protection is a bit better than their opponent. If LaSalle wants to improve on the season and try and finish with a winning record, they're going to need to lower that turnover stat in order to play more clean basketball and come up with more wins and maybe come up with a better seed for the A10 tournament in March. For SportsLine, I am Josh Abrams. I'm going to throw it back to you guys on the desk.
The win against St. Bonaventure did not give the women's basketball team much momentum as they lost their next 2 games on the road. The first was in Pittsburgh against Duquesne University and the second against the University of Rhode Island. Against Duquesne, junior Adriana Miller scored a season high of 25 points, while Shalina Miller contributed 9 points and 5 rebounds. However, it was not enough as the Explorers fell to the Dukes by a staggering 78-50. The Explorers then traveled to Rhode Island to take on the Rams the following Saturday morning. Adriana Miller again played a huge role in the offensive efforts by putting up a team high of 14 points, while redshirt freshman Shaquana Edwards followed behind her with 13 points. Despite an even match throughout the game, the Rams used an 11-2 run late in the fourth quarter to push ahead and ultimately defeat the Blue and Gold 72-63.
The men's swimming team returned to the pool after a nearly 2-month break with 2 meets this past week. First, they traveled to Loyola, Maryland on Monday, January 15th. There they defeated the Greyhounds by a score of 209-89. A team comprised of Fabian Bergman, Jacob Bartoshevich, Marcus Forsgren, and Norman Gregory led LaSalle to victory in the 200-meter medley relay. The team finished with a time of 1 minute and 34 seconds. Next up, the Explorers traveled to New York to take on Fordham in a preview of the A10 championship. Freshman standout Gustav Swedenberg won the 1,000-meter free, finishing 13 seconds ahead of the pack. He also won the 200 fly, finishing the race with a time of 1 minute and 53 seconds. His efforts led to another Explorer victory, toppling the Rams 176.5 to 116.5.
Women's swimming opened 2018 with 2 losses. The women were defeated by Iola by a margin of 164 to 136. However, still managed 9 wins in the meet. Olivia DiStefano won multiple events, including the 100 free, 100 back, and the 50 free. Hannah Elliott was victorious in both the 200 and 500 free races. Sophomore Emily Walbert won the 200 fly. The women returned to the pool in a tri-meet against Fordham in Richmond. There, the Explorers were unable to come up with a single win. Notable performers for LaSalle included Olivia DiStefano, who finished 2nd in the 100 back and 4th in the 100 free. It was a 4th-place story as Emily Walbert finished the 100 fly in 4th, and 2 relay teams finished in 4th place as well.
Men's track got off to a strong start, with 4 Explorers finishing in 1st place at the Mike Missoni Invitational. Zakiya Williams beat out 6 competitors in the long jump with a distance of 6.55 meters. The junior also competed in the triple jump and took 1st place by a full meter. Justin Gare was the 2nd Explorer to finish in 1st place. Gare participated in the 60-meter dash and finished with just over 7 seconds. Ethan Cook was the next 1st place finisher for LaSalle. The freshman took on the 200-meter dash and crossed the finish line with a time just under 23 seconds. And finally, it was a nail-biter for sophomore Ake Hall. He claimed first place in the 60-meter hurdle by 0.04 of a second. The Explorers then had a strong showing at the Gildan Invitational, where they finished with 92 points and came in third place. Chris Sanders, Nathan Gillis, and Nick Smart came out strong, and each of them finished in first place.
Women's track also kicked off 2018 at the Mike Missoni Invite, but didn't have quite the same success as the men's team. Jessica Bryant claimed the sole victory for LaSalle in the triple jump, where she leapt a total of 11.4 meters. Bryant also finished second in the long jump with a 5.5 meter jump. Kalia Miller finished just behind her with a 5.4 meter jump, good for a third place finish. The women struggled at the Golden Invite, where they finished 7th of 7 teams with 28 points. Once again, Jessica Bryant was a bright spot for LaSalle. The sophomore won the triple jump with an 11.3 meter jump. Kalia Miller also earned a point for the Explorers with a 6th place finish in the event. Miller earned another 6 points for LaSalle with a 3rd place finish in the long jump.
Men's and women's tennis opened up their season on Saturday, January 20th, against Morgan State. Junior Francesco Mauri tried to set the tone of the event with a victory in the first singles match in straight sets. However, the Explorers fell in the other 5 matches. Mauri came back in the doubles competition with senior Thomas Christian to lead the team to victory. For the women, senior Jade Smith had the best showing in the singles competition, where she pushed a 3rd set super tiebreaker against Morgan State's Dana Santiago. Unfortunately, Smith couldn't hold on and ultimately fell 12-10. LaSalle's women were defeated by the Bears 6-1, earning their only point by default. That wraps up this week's recaps. We will be back with Nick Palaio and this week's Explorer Report. Stay tuned.
This is Kevin, and Kevin could use some kindness. Here's Ian. He could be that man. Ian chooses to be inconsiderate and not hold the door for Kevin, and in turn, Kevin suffers. Kindness may be a choice, but doing so is always the right one. So if Ian can make the right choice, you can too.
Hey, I'm Eddie Dunn, host of LaSalle's favorite TV game show, Q&A. Do you know that LaSalle TV is an entirely student-run organization? Probably right. Do you also know that I happen to know all of the words to Eminem's Rap God? It's crazy, right? It's like 6 minutes. I'm not going to do it here, but just trust me that I know the words. Hook to the double feature and you're on my mind. Return of the creature, the crawler from the subway line. You're always keeping me waiting, keeping me waiting for you.
There's plenty of LaSalle sports action this upcoming week, so let us welcome Nick Palaio for this week's Explorer Report.
With a 7-13 record, the women's basketball team needs all the Explorer hype it can get going into their next A-10 matchup. With the Eagles not in the Super Bowl for another week, take a break from studying this Sunday, January 28th, to watch the women's basketball team as they square off against Big Five rival St. Joe's at the Gola at 1 o'clock. With the Hawks posing a record of 9-10, this game could be a toss-up for the Explorers. The Hawks have 4 players averaging more than 10 points per game. Their efforts have been led by Chelsea Woods with 14.3 and Sarah Valou with 13.7 points per game. Still, the Explorers possess some offensive powerhouses of their own. LaSalle will need clutch performances from top scorers Amy Griffin and Adriana Miller if they want to top the Hawks. But they will also need assistance from recent standouts Shalina Miller and Shaq Edwards if they want to bring home a win. All it comes down to are the fundamentals, not coming out too strong as to tire out mid-game, staying consistent and determined in play throughout the game. The Explorers need to maximize possession with solid communication and limit scoring opportunities for the Hawks through sound defensive play. With their eye on the ball, pun intended, and with these keys in mind, this weekend's contest could bring home a much-needed win for the Explorers.
Thank you, Nick. That was awesome. So it's a Big 5 game. It's going to be huge for us, obviously. These are always big games. But like you said, you mentioned it's going to be a toss-up because you know, they're kind of even right now. But they did lose a game. St. Joe's lost a game to Duquesne. So on recently, I'm not sure what day it was.
Earlier this week.
But let us know kind of what that means for Sunday's game. Is this going to kind of hurt their chances, you think? What do you think?
They're coming off of actually a 2-game losing streak. Against Duquesne, that was their 2nd loss in a row, and that was actually at home. So this could mean 2 things for this weekend. The Explorers could use that as a way to push ahead, or at the same time, the Hawks could use it as, you know, extra incentive to really correct their mistakes on the road. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
What do you think Tom Gola Arena does for this team? Do you think the home field advantage is a big advantage here?
I think in Gola, anything could happen. I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Thanks, Nick. All right, so we actually all have predictions for this St. Joe's game, and we're going to throw it over to Tegan to start us off. Who do you think is going to win this?
I see an Explorers win, 64-58 is my prediction.
All right. I mean, I kind of am similar. Given that they're kind of even, I gave it to the Explorers too, 65-57. We didn't talk about that first, which is weird how close we got.
Yeah.
But I think
it wasn't planned.
It wasn't. Yeah, this definitely wasn't planned. But Nick, what do you have?
And I am the doubter on desk with a 75-65 loss, given the win to St. Joe's.
Oh, Nick, come on. All right, let me know why. Like, why? What's your reasoning here?
Well, just in terms of records, but you know, anything can happen. You know, we just came off of today a home win. They're coming off an away loss. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. So.
I kind of hope you're wrong too.
Yeah.
Do you see the role players for LaSalle, not the Adriana Millers and not the Amy Griffins? You see Shaq and any of the other players being a real big factor in this game?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, Shaq and the others who aren't maybe mentioned as much, this is their time now in the season to really step up and really, you know, play well.
Yeah, it's an A10 game along with a Big 5 game.
And it's at home. Yeah.
We're going to need those types of players to step up. You can't look to Amy to be the whole team all the time.
Right, this is going to be a full team effort this weekend.
Yeah, Tegan, how about you? Why are you going with the Explorers for this one?
Like we just said, I think it's time for Shaq and the other role players to step up, and Shaq's starting to play well. She's starting to come into her own, and we're starting to play better basketball as a team, I think. I don't think we're relying on 1 or 2 players to win every ball game anymore. I think it's time to start coming together a little bit and put a little stretch together.
Again, like you said, we're starting to see these players, we're starting to see more of their names instead of just the Amy Griffin and the Adriana Miller. We're starting to see these younger players come as a team, and I think that was our ultimate problem. I don't think it was individual talent. I just think it was learning how to come and, you know, play together as a team.
Exactly.
So, well, what better way to do it with a St. Joe's win? All right, so the 2018 LaSalle Sports Hall of Fame inductees were announced on Monday, and they'll officially be inducted on February 11th, but there was 5 of them, so we're going to kind of bring you through that, who is going to be in the Sports Hall of Fame. So our first inductee was Krista Plummer. She was a women's track and cross-country runner. She graduated in 2009. What's impressive about her, among many things, is she went to the Olympic trials in 2010, and she was also named to the A10's Most Outstanding Rookie in 2004 at the league's cross-country championship. Throughout her time, she actually never placed lower than 6th place individually, which is impressive.
That's very impressive.
On the track, she was a 2-time A10 indoor 3,000-meter champion, so congratulations to her.
Next is Melissa Sanger. Melissa Sanger was a women's soccer player who graduated in 2011. She was a goalkeeper for the team, and from 2007 to 2011, she had 35 wins, as well as an additional 15 as a redshirt senior. During that time, she recorded 13 shutouts and 2011 Defender of the Year.
Our next athlete is Jeff Gersh. He's a swimmer who graduated in 1989. He earned Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Most Outstanding Swimmer 4 times during his career. So that's pretty impressive.
As much as you can do it.
Yeah, really. You can't do any
Exactly.
more than that.
No, you can't.
He held school records in the 1,000 free and the 1650 free for nearly 3 decades. And he led his team to an MAAC team championship in 86, 87, and 89.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Next is Jeff Hentz. He was a baseball player here at LaSalle, and he graduated in 1982. He's widely regarded as one of the best pitchers in our program's history, and he ranks second all-time on the career wins list at LaSalle with 18. He was drafted in the 17th round of the 1982 MLB draft by the Atlanta Braves. And in 1977,
These
Sorry.
are, it's okay. This is our next group of men, actually I say, because they were the 1977 men's crew lightweight number 8 boat. They were entered in the prestigious Dadville Regatta back in 1977, and even though a number 8 team had not won the championship in nearly 20 years, they still entered and they actually won. So that put them in LaSalle sports history, which is awesome.
Always awesome.
So it's always fun to see great athletes from LaSalle's history, because we've had great ones. So it's great to see them being acknowledged and put into the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
No, I think just what you were saying. I think it's a great opportunity to highlight the talent, and I think it's great overall.
Yeah. All right. So congratulations to them, and February 11th they'll be in.
Yep,
Yeah.
Congratulations. That just about wraps us up for us this week. If you can't make it to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of the Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions there.
For Sean, Josh, Isaiah, Nick, and all of our SportsLine team, I'm Tegan Lamont.
And I'm Dana Pecora. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the game.